What's up guys, my name's Brandon and I was using the iPhone XS Max every single day since its release, all the way up until the iPhone 11 Pro Max got released. And now that this guy's been out for a few months, I wanted to talk to you guys about the real world differences between the two and which one you should buy. Or if you have the iPhone XS Max now, if you should upgrade to the iPhone 11 Pro Max in 2020. So instead of starting with the design like I usually do, let's start in order of what I found to be the biggest differences in these two phones over time. And to me, the biggest difference overall is in the camera. So on the backside of the iPhone XS Max, we have a dual 12 megapixel camera setup with a wide angle and a telephoto lens. And on the iPhone 11 Pro Max here, we have a triple 12 megapixel camera setup with a wide angle telephoto and an ultra wide angle lens. But of course, as we've seen in the past, just like with the iPhone XR compared to the iPhone X, having an additional camera does not necessarily mean that the picture and the video quality is going to be better. So with that in mind, I went into using the iPhone 11 Pro Max and its camera, not really expecting much of a difference from the iPhone XS Max, but man, I was wrong. And after using this guy for more than 3 months straight, the difference in quality and just overall capability and what you can do with the camera on the 11 Pro Max is night and day better than the XS Max. So of course the biggest outward facing change is that ultra wide lens. And I do love this lens a lot. You're able to capture so much in the images and the videos, and sometimes it can morph the way things look, like people's heads sometimes look weird and objects look really weird and morphed. But it doesn't happen all the time. And even when it does, it really doesn't stop me from using that wide angle lens just because it's so awesome how much you can capture in one image, especially when I'm recording like big events, like if I'm a big event with like cars or just a big event in general, having that wide angle lens is super, super useful just to give everybody that's watching the video an idea of how big the atmosphere I'm in is. But it's not just the wide angle that makes the 11 Pro Max a far superior phone in terms of the camera, it's also because of Deep Fusion. So if you guys don't know, Deep Fusion is a new software-based feature exclusive for the 2019 iPhones, the 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max, that essentially takes 9 shots within 1 second of pressing the shutter button. And that's all thanks to the powerful A13 chip inside and the neural engine. And with all those things working together, Apple combines all of those shots into one perfectly sharpened and colored image for a really, really standout image. And it really shows on really fine detailed things like a sweater or like a shoe with mesh. Something that has a lot of detail in it, you can really tell the difference in sharpness with Deep Fusion. Now, the other area where the 11 Pro Max shines is with night mode. And once again, this is another exclusive feature to the 2019 lineup of iPhones. So night mode allows you to capture surprisingly professional looking shots in very low light, sometimes even like pitch black. So I did a full comparison to the Pixel 4, the 11 Pro Max versus the Pixel 4 in that video, which by the way, the Pixel 4 also has a crazy good camera for nighttime shooting. And in that video, I even expressed how I like the iPhone's night shots better than the Pixels. And I only like the Pixel better for astrophotography of like taking photos of the stars and things like that. But overall, I think the iPhone has better nighttime capabilities than the Pixel, which is really saying something because the Pixel and what Google has done with that is super impressive, but that's really just a testament to how good Apple did with night mode on the 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. And once again, that's not a feature available on the XS Max. Now, as for video, the video quality is about the same on both phones, but once again, you do have that additional ultra wide lens on the 11 Pro Max, so you are going to have more versatility in your shots because you can switch between 3 different modes instead of just 2 modes like you can on the XS Max. And also the iPhone 11 Pro Max, you can also change the camera settings straight from the camera application. You don't need to go into settings anymore, and that's not something you can do on the XS Max. And even the front-facing camera on the 11 is just much better than that of the XS Max here. We have a 12 megapixel lens compared to a 7 megapixel lens on the XS Max. But the main difference, aside from the obvious, the higher megapixels, is that the lens on the 11 is also a wide angle lens. So you're able to capture more people in a selfie. So it's, again, super useful if you have like 2 or 3 people in a selfie with you, or even just one person. You're not going to be cutting their heads off because of that ultra wide lens there in the front, which is really nice to have. And you can also shoot 4K videos on the 11 from the front facing camera. But you can only do 1080p on the XS Max. And you do also have the ability to take slowfies, which are like slow motion selfie videos on the 11 Pro Max, which is a pretty cool concept. I don't use it at all, but it is cool to have there. So yeah, even better on the front facing camera for the 11 Pro Max. So if you take a lot of photos or just enjoy having the best picture quality possible in a smartphone on the market right now, this alone would be a really good reason to upgrade from the XS Max to the 11 Pro Max, because in my opinion, this is the best camera, both front facing and rear facing, on the market right now, even better than the Pixel and the S10. Now, with that being said, I don't want you thinking that the XS Max camera isn't great, because it is. It's just not as good as the successor. Of course, that you could say that with every iPhone. So I don't want to discourage the people with a XS Max right now, because that camera is still excellent. But anyways, now let's discuss the battery life, because this is the second biggest difference between these two phones. And that's kind of surprising since they were just released 1 year apart. You wouldn't really expect battery life to be such a big difference just 1 year apart. So inside the XS Max, we have a 3174 milliamp hour battery. Meanwhile, in the 11 Pro Max, we have a 3969 milliamp hour battery. And of course, both have fast and wireless charging, but the iPhone 11 Pro Max actually comes with a USB-C to Lightning fast charger, something you had to buy separately with the XS Max. But let me tell you guys this, the iPhone 11 Pro Max has consistently given me like at least 3 hours more of battery per day than my iPhone XS Max ever did since the day I opened it. And it's really incredible how great the battery life is on the 11 Pro Max. I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, I say it all the time, but it's really incredible, especially when you compare it to a phone, the Mac Daddy phone of just 1 year ago, how much it just kind of blows it out of the water. I even did a full battery test comparison between the XS Max and the 11 Pro Max and all the other phones as well. But yeah, I can easily get through an entire day without charging my iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I've done it numerous times as well. I've even shared screenshots over on Twitter, but I was never able to do that with the XS Max. And if I did, it would pretty much be dead when I woke up in the morning. But once again, I'm not taking anything away from the XS Max in terms of battery, because it does still get great battery life for a smartphone in 2020. Now, going back to the outside of these guys, let's talk about the design and the durability over time. So both phones have a glass front and a glass back with a stainless steel frame, but the iPhone 11 Pro Max obviously looks a lot different than the iPhone XS Max, because it does have that matte finish on the back, which feels and looks absolutely amazing. In terms of weight, the 11 does weigh more due to the larger battery inside, but it's less than like 20 grams of a difference, so most people won't notice it unless you're specifically feeling for it in your hand. Just holding them right now, not thinking about it, they feel the exact same weight. But the 11 Pro Max is slightly heavier than the XS Max. Both these guys are also IP68 dust and water resistant, but the iPhone 11 is able to be submerged in 4 meters of water for 30 minutes compared to 2 meters of water on the XS Max. Apple also claims the 11 series has the strongest iPhone glass ever, but I would have to disagree. I mean, all three of my iPhone 11s, the 11, 11 Pro, and the 11 Pro Max, scratched very, very easily within like the first 2 weeks of owning them. I have scratches all over the screens of my 11 and 11 Pro. I just have one scratch on my 11 Pro Max because I did put a screen protector on it pretty quickly, but I did not have that issue with scratching on the glass with my XS Max or the XS or the XR. So not sure what it is with the glass on these 11s, but I think that the XS Max is going to be more durable long term than the 11 Pro Max. Now, as for the display, both are rocking a 6.5-inch OLED panel with the same 1242 by 2688 resolution at 458 ppi. However, the big difference in these displays is that the iPhone 11 gets noticeably brighter than the XS Max, with the peak brightness at 800 nits compared to just 625 nits on the XS Max. And it may seem like a small difference, but it's actually massive, especially when you're outside. If you use your iPhone like to conduct a drone, if you fly your drone with your phone, you are definitely going to want the 11 Pro Max because it gets a lot brighter in that bright sun out there. And even just using these phones in day-to-day usage, just when I'm outside, you can tell a difference in the brightness on the 11 Pro Max compared to the XS Max. But other than being outside, these two displays are basically the same when watching movies, YouTube videos, Twitch streams, or playing games. You're really not going to notice a difference between the two in terms of colors or anything like that. Now, where you will be able to tell a slight difference is with the performance, and that's because the 11 Pro Max has Apple's A13 Bionic chip, their latest chipset, while the iPhone XS Max, of course, has the previous gen A12 Bionic chip. And just from opening apps, you will see a very minor increase in performance on the 11 Pro Max, but you really start to notice it with gaming. And this was something that took me a couple months to notice because I don't play games too often on my iPhone, but I do like to play PUBG, Call of Duty, and some other games like that from time to time, some pretty intensive apps. And the iPhone 11 Pro Max never stuttered at all in any of those games, whereas I remember the iPhone XS Max, specifically when I compared it to the iPad Pro last year in a speed test, I noticed that it would lag from time to time and stutter occasionally, specifically in games like PUBG. So I do think that the iPhone 11 Pro Max is better in terms of gaming, but as far as just day-to-day things, these are pretty much the exact same speed-wise. As for the RAM, both of these guys have 4 gigabytes of RAM, so there's really not a difference with keeping applications open in the background or anything like that in terms of RAM management. However, Face ID is faster on the 11 thanks to that improved wide-angle front-facing camera. I've noticed that it picks up your face a lot better in terms of accuracy, and it also picks it up from much more angles. You have a lot more angle options than what you did with the XS. Another thing that you won't be able to tell from these specs is cell connectivity. So for whatever reason, the iPhone XS and XS Max had awful coverage for me, and many others as well, thanks to that Intel modem. Now, of course, the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max, of course, also have Intel modems as well. But for some reason, my LTE and my Wi-Fi issues have been cut in half. I mean, at least half. I have not near as many issues with connectivity on my 11 Pro Max as I did with my XS Max. And this is not me either. This is very, very popular. If you look back at pretty much all the videos when these guys got released, the XS, XS Max, and XR, a lot of issues with connectivity and Wi-Fi. So definitely a lot better on the 11 Pro Max, but of course that will vary from user to user, so I'm not going to put a lot of emphasis on that. And speaking of making phone calls, the iPhone 11 also has an improved earpiece speaker, which I don't think this is mentioned anywhere, but I've noticed that the speaker right here when you're on a phone call is louder on the 11 Pro Max compared to the XS Max. You can hear the other person a lot louder, which can really come in handy if you're in like a store or something like that and you really need to turn your phone up, a concert. It's really great for that because you can hear the other person a lot louder. And for some reason, the call quality is also improved. Like the microphone, I don't know if it's the microphone or something else, but the call quality is more crisp on the iPhone 11 Pro Max compared to the XS Max. Not a huge difference. Again, you're gonna have to, actually test this and, talk to people using one and the other to notice it, but it is something I wanted to mention, but don't expect a huge change in that. It's not like it's like super HD quality, like microphone, studio microphone quality or anything like that. Just a minor thing that I did notice and I did test when this phone did first come out. And now finally, let's discuss the elephant in the room, the price. So both of these phones do come in 64, 256, and 512 gigabyte variants, and they do also have the same colors aside from the iPhone 11 Pro has the new midnight green color, which I do have right here and I absolutely love. Now the iPhone 11 Pro Max starts at $1099 for the 64 gigabyte model, goes up to $1249 for 256, and then the Mac Daddy 512 gigabytes is $1449. And since Apple doesn't sell the XS Max anymore, if you wanted to get one new, you're gonna have to go to either a carrier store or Best Buy or somewhere like that. Actually, a good amount of people still carry the XS Max new, so you will just have to look around. I found it on Best Buy. Best Buy seems to have a lot of stock of the XS Max, also on Amazon. But if you buy from Best Buy, for example, you can see here the 64 gigabyte is $999, 256 is $1149, and 512 is $1349. So basically just a $100 difference between these two phones. You guys heard the major differences in these two guys. So I would say that if you're in the market right now, $100 more for the 11 Pro Max is 100% worth it if you're looking to buy new versus new. New iPhone XS Max versus new iPhone 11 Pro Max. For $100 more, definitely worth it to get the 11 Pro Max. Again, just the camera and the battery life alone should convince you to spend the extra $100 because it is very, very noticeable. Now, if you wanted to go the used route, if you wanted to buy a used XS Max in good or mint condition, they're going for around $500 to $600, which is a fantastic deal. Fantastic value for this phone, which just came out a year ago. And I think that if you're fine with a used but good condition phone, I would 100% save the $500 and go with the iPhone XS Max, because to me, this is the second best iPhone on the market right now in terms of overall value for the cost. It's only right behind the iPhone XR in terms of best value on the market right now for the money spent. And of course, if you have the iPhone XS Max now, I know you're probably a little bit down just thinking about, the ways that I said the 11 Pro Max is better, but what you should really be thinking about is that your phone is still a beast. It's just not the best of the best. And a lot of people, 99% of people don't need the best of the best. So the iPhone XS Max is still an absolute beast. And for the price difference, if you were to upgrade, I don't think it's worth it. Not unless you take tons of photos and videos and also need that extra battery life. I think that most of you are just better off waiting until you at least see what the 2020 iPhones have to offer before even considering upgrading. Or, of course, just keep your XS Max for years to come. I mean, it's gonna be supported for 4 or 5 plus years. So you're really fine just keeping this phone for a long period of time because it's going to perform well for the foreseeable future, really for years to come. So I hope this video helped you decide which newer iPhone to buy here in 2020, or if you already have one of these phones, I hope this helped you realize that your phone is still great and that unless you have the money to upgrade, you probably shouldn't. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this super in-depth video, I would appreciate it if you gave this a thumbs up. And of course, make sure you guys do subscribe. I do comparisons like this with these iPhones all the time, which ones you should buy and things like that. You know, I'll be covering the iPhone XS Max later on this year once the new iPhones come out as well, seeing if it's still a good buy and if the price goes down. Same with the 11 Pro Max as well. So definitely stick around for those videos here on the channel. Make sure you guys click that bell icon down there next to the subscribe button. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.